Hey everyone, thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch News Update on Tuesday, October 14th. We were visiting just a little bit before we got started, and I know we're probably going to echo each other a little bit on here this morning. So again, we record these on Mondays. So I spent a good bit of this morning doctoring some calves at the Hill Farm. We'll talk about the weather. I'm sure everybody talk about the weather, but it's hot and during the day, cold at night, and dusty. We were all sneezing, and the calves were sneezing a little bit too. So just that time of year to be watching out for that. We're going to go ahead and let Brittany kick us off with our Central Region update.
Thanks, Ashley. And yes, it is very dry, and the days are just kind of tricky. You'll start off just this morning, I had a nice little jacket on my way into work, turned my seat heater on a little bit, and then got really warm towards the middle of the day. And that's definitely what we've been seeing. And as Ashley said, it's been very dry, very dusty. Different parts I know of our area may have got, a bit of rain here and there, just maybe a little scattered shower, but nothing that's really making a dent in the rain gauge, if you will. So we definitely, have those super dry conditions going now. I did see, at least, on the drives I typically take to work and around the area, that several producers were able to get their ryegrass planted within the last several weeks, and are starting to see a little bit of a stand come up with that. And the cooler weather has definitely helped that out. Definitely going to hopefully get some more rain on that to get that growth going there with the ryegrass. Another thing that's going on right now, several of our producers that do fall calving have been calving here lately, and just wanted to just echo the fact that, during this time, the nutrient requirements of those cows is such an important thing to remember. They're going to need more nutrients during this stage when they're lactating and raising calves and whatnot. So their nutrition needs to be at that level, at that peak level for them, in order for them to raise some nice calves there. So just to keep that in mind, and if y'all, if anybody is, doesn't know where to find the nutrient requirements and how that breaks down, get with one of your extension agents, get with one of us, and we'll be glad to share that information with you as well. And then just the last thing that I'll touch on, was it last week? Sorry, last week, 2 weeks ago, I held a BQA certification in Opelousas. I had 12 people that attended that. So thanks if anyone's, watching, listening, that attended that. Thank y'all for doing that. And just, making that point to really get up to date on the best practices, and just to be, a better cattleman, cattlewoman, right? And we have coming up next week here in Opelousas, where I'm at Dominique Stockyard, our breeding soundness exam that we do on Thursday, October 23rd. So if you're interested in that, or you want more information, you can go ahead and contact me or Lanie Richard, who is the extension agent down in Lafayette, and we can help and get y'all set up with that. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Ashley.
Thank you. Okay, Vince, I think you're unfrozen and good to go now.
Yeah, thanks. So thank you all for having me this week. And if I repeat anything Brittany said, I was kind of in and out on the network here. So apologize for that. But so yeah, it's kind of kudos to what we talked about prior to getting started recording here. But it's been hot and dry, in central Louisiana, and people are just chomping at the bit to get some ryegrass planted. Here we are approaching mid-October, and we're getting behind the 8 ball, if you would, to get that grass planted and up in a timely fashion to graze those fall and winter calving pairs. So it's getting kind of critical here. There is a little chance of rain in the forecast on Saturday and Sunday, but I don't think it's enough to justify and go and put your seed and your fertilizer out. But it may give us an opportunity to start thinking more positive about that. So if you got calves to sell, I know Trip is going to touch on the market situation, but man, it's super hot right now. If you got some 4-weight calves, I saw a report where 4-weight calves up, in the Midwest, our pricing is somewhat different because of our geographical location to our feeders and calves. But a majority of our calves on feed But it's a good time right now to market those calves. If your cows are getting a little thin on those spring calving cows, which most everybody has marketed their spring calves at this point. But if you're trying to hold on to them to wait for a better price, I think you're backing up because it's as good as it's ever going to be right now. So take advantage of the market. Give those cows a break before, even with short pastures coming ahead of us with the droughty conditions that we're experiencing. We actually in a moderate drought in our area, one of the driest parts of the state, believe it or not, in St. Landry and Evangeline Parish, has hit that peak of the drought monitor currently. So it's a critical situation moving forward. So hopefully we get some rain in the near future and get the ryegrass planted and our fall and winter pastures growing in the right direction. So, majority of us had, in the area had way more hay than we knew what to do with. When we finally got that window to get some hay made, we might not be so sorry that we got an abundance of hay moving forward here. So as we get into an early winter feeding period, have your hay tested if you're not sure what it is. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of low quality hay out there. If you have resources for supplementation, calf market's good. If you got that extra income, if it's economically feasible for you to do it, which I would think it is with today's market prices, put some liquid feed or some tubs or some type of supplement out in front of those cows. If you pull in those spring-born calves and body condition scores are a little off, get them back on track before getting into the winter period, because that's our critically bad time of the year where we see some possible death loss if we have some thin to marginally thin cattle. So take care of that part of the business and get that body condition score up and make sure that they're ready to breed. If they didn't catch on that pulling those bulls out from the spring breeding time, it's going to be critically important to get them bred. With that being said, we still get people calling or asking about making herbicide applications. Look, it's way too hot, way too dry. You're not going to get any kind of activity this time of the year. The last time critical points of whether we have a residue out there for our clovers and even our ryegrass emerging. So if you're putting any kind of herbicides out, just be aware that there's about a 6 to 8 week time frame that you should not apply any kind of herbicides before planting ryegrass, much less anticipating any kind of clover emergence, because you could be setting yourself up for a disaster. In the event that we do continue to be dry, that you don't get that emergence of clovers that you normally do. So be aware of that. There's a lot of horse nettle out there. There's a lot of summer weeds that are still problematic. Go top them off with a bush hog if it makes you feel better, but there's just not anything that's going to work.
Vince, we lost you.
Just be aware. But I'll close with that. And if you hadn't booked any ryegrass seed and you hadn't got any out there yet, make a visit to your farm supply dealer and make sure that you get that seed in order, because they're going to try to move it out of the house as fast as they can. And if they run out on you and you don't get it planted, that's going to be on you. So just take care of your business ahead of time. With that, I'll close. And if we can be of any assistance to you in the immediate area, please reach out to us.
Hey, we lost you for just a second, so I'm going to ask you to back up. I think you were talking about the fact that there's just not going to be an herbicide that's going to work as we start to plant ryegrass, but you said basically that there's not going to be anything that's going to work, and then we lost you. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so herbicide applications this time of the year is just not feasible and not economically, it doesn't work that well because of the timing of the year and the hardiness of the weeds. You don't get the kill that you would anticipate. So you're not going to get the best bang for your buck of putting out a herbicide application at this time of the year.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Tripp, I know you're playing both Tripp Morgan and Lee Falk today, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you for the full North Louisiana update.
Yeah, big shoes to fill trying to take over Lee's market report. I always get a little bit nervous whenever I get the opportunity to do that, but I'm a little bit more confident on the general news update across North Louisiana because conditions are fairly similar from one side of the state to the other. It is hot and dry up this way, just like it sounds like it is across the rest of the state. I will add this comment, though it is a bit drier to the west than it is in the east, especially in some pockets in DeSoto Parish, northern Natchitoches, Red River. They're in pretty critical condition in that part of the world. It's pretty severe drought levels in there, regardless of what the U.S. Drought Monitor says. And you start getting a little bit better coming to the east, but it has been very erratic, the rainfall amounts that we have been getting over the last month and a half. There's some people that are faring okay, and then there's some people that are pretty droughty. One of the big concerns right now is, do I plant my ryegrass or do I hang out for just a minute and try and wait on some moisture? There has been a significant amount of ryegrass planted across North Louisiana that's on tilled ground, that's just broadcasting and letting cows tread it in or run over with a drag. And that's a good many people planting with a no-till drill. So all our modes of planting, there's been a significant amount of grass planted. And what I'm the most concerned about is there's a good bit of grass that has emerged. You've got very young, tender ryegrass that had just enough moisture to poke its head up out of the ground, and it's sitting there dry. And if we don't get a rain on that somewhat quickly in timely manner, it won't make it. So there'll be a failed crop there to start off the year. Now, the good thing is they have time to replant, but as y'all know, that is a pretty big strike against your bottom line, your profit margin, whenever you talk about having to replant ryegrass. Producers are finishing up their last round of hay. Most people have wrapped up. There's a few people that have been working on their row crop harvest, especially over in my part of the state, that are just now getting finished up, getting a few things squared away, and going ahead and going out there and getting that last cleanup. Some people are just removing the vegetative matter to where they can have an easier time to plant their ryegrass. It's always a good agricultural practice right there. Just getting some of that thatch down, that way that ryegrass can emerge through and have a better shot as far as taking off and going. That is pretty well it, with the exception of one thing. We do have a lot of people in North Louisiana that are in the middle of weaning. Dr. Edwards alluded to this earlier whenever they were working their calves this morning. So everybody was sneezing, coughing, and hacking. We're having these cool nights and hot days. It's dry and dusty. As y'all know, that is a perfect storm for respiratory issues for your calves, especially in a weaning lot where they're confined and on dirt and in a dusty environment to start with. So be keeping a very close eye on them. Now's a good time to be having your vet-client relationship in place, just in case you do need to get some medicines or somebody to come take a look at them and help you treat some respiratory issues, because you can really put a set of calves going the wrong way for the rest of their life as they move into the stock or feeder phase with a respiratory illness as a weanling. That is pretty well it for the North Louisiana news update. Before I jump into the market report that Lee had fixed for us, I do want to put a plug in for our pregnancy determination clinic that we had last week. We had producers from all across the state make their way to Homer, Louisiana. We had 2 very successful sessions. I was very impressed with how quick this group picked up and learned, and the joy they had about the process. It can be very frustrating whenever you're going into these animals and trying to figure out where the anatomical structures are and learn what you're doing. But largely, they had a really good disposition, good attitude about it, and very good educational experience. So I want to thank y'all all very much for coming. And those that said that they listened to our Beef Brunch news update, hello, we enjoyed having you. Another thing Lee wanted me to plug for them is coming up is the Homesteader Conference at the Red River Station. It's going to be Friday or Saturday. There'll be educational demonstrations, activities for the kiddos, and a trade show with over 100 vendors. That's quickly become one of the trademark events for the Northwest region there. So without further ado, I'll jump into our market report that Lee has fixed for us. Low confidence on these numbers, guys. What the numbers tell us are fairly indicative of what you would expect, but we are missing swaths of data in it, so it is a low confidence report. So the average lows for our 5-weight steers are going to be trading at 325, the average of the highs being at 413. Guys, that is a 2.2% increase over last week. That's a bit counterintuitive, because typically as we push further into the fall right now, you're going to be seeing these large fall runs from our western calving states. A lot of calves coming in from the northern plains, calves coming in from Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and typically that depresses the nationwide steer market. So it's encouraging to see these steer numbers holding in strong. The heifers are trading at 303 to 373 for our 5 to 6 weight heifers. That's going to be a 0.29% decline, but as I said, with the lack of data that we had in the confidence level, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. Our cull cows and cull bull markets were holding in pretty firm. Cull cows, the average of the lows was $1.36. Average of the highs were trading at $1.68, and our cull bulls were trading from $1.63 to $1.94. $1.94 on those cull bulls is indicative of us needing to get more animals into the packers, where we're hitting a little bit of a snag at the feedlot level, moving into the packing plants. So looking for some mature animals to fill some gaps in that space. And that's part of the explanation behind the firm market with the cull bulls. One thing I want to highlight right here is the average of the highs with the bred cows are trading at $3,809.38, with our pairs trading at $3,565.63. Both of those holding fairly steady from our last market update. You are hearing reports from special sales and our seed stock producers of replacement females trading much higher than that, so there might be some value there. But one thing to keep in mind, look at what our 5 to 6 weight steers are trading at $4.13 a pound. It doesn't take very many steers that are bringing almost $2,000 or right over $2,000 to be paying off some of these replacement females, even though they are trading at higher values than we are comfortable and historically have seen them. It doesn't take very many turns to trade them off, assuming that our market remains firm moving forward. And guys, I think I kept the train on the tracks through the market report. Lee will be back with us next time, hopefully. And guys, that is pretty well it for the North Louisiana report. And I'll be turning it back over to Dr. Edwards.
You say hopefully, but that might end up following during the hog show or falling during the hog show at State Fair. I'm not sure. So you might have to do it again, Trip, because you do a better job than I do. I wasn't as good as Lee. He usually comes in with some of our bull sales that we have going on. But y'all know that fall bull sales are going on. There's quite a few that I've seen advertised, not just in Louisiana, but surrounding states too. And, Trip was just talking about the few number of steers that it takes to cover the cost of a replacement female. The bull sale season in the fall, prices of bulls have gone up because prices of calves have gone up. So, don't get to those sales in bulk. Buy a good bull. He can pay for himself if you start thinking about some of these calves within some reason there. Trip?
Yeah, I've actually got to sell some prices from some regional bull sales, some reputable sales, some 2-year data. So it's not like it's extrapolated over a long period of time, but bulls were trading at least $2,000 higher this year than last year, with an average over $10,000. But rule of thumb I've always heard is that the price of a bull should be equal to the price of 5 steer calves or 5 weaned calves. And with weaned calves trading around $2,000, that's holding fairly true.
Vince, I saw you sit up. I knew you were ready to go.
Yeah. And, it's relative, that it seems like these stocker cows and replacement females, trading at, $5,000-$6,000. I've heard some of that here lately, but it's all relative. I mean, if the old wise tale is it takes 2.5 calves to pay off a cow. And regardless of what the price is, you do the math on 2.5 calves at today's market, you're exceeding the cost of that $5,000 female. So it's all relative. It seems like a lot of money. We had a local cattleman that here recently sold his calf crop, and I mean he runs about 300 mamas and probably has an 80 to 90% calving rate. And he went to a sale this past weekend here locally, and he said, I haven't been to a sale in a long, long time and come back with an empty trailer. He said, I just couldn't make myself do it. But it's a tough business decision to make yourself pull the trigger on these $5,000 and $6,000 females. But it's all relative. In all honesty, you do the math on 2 calves that's selling at $2,200, and you're paying for that cow. So just keep that in mind.
And we say it all the time. And I mean, I think Vince just put it perfectly. You've got to pencil it out, and you've got to look at it as a whole picture. I know Tripp last week during a pregnancy determination clinic said, we almost always are going to tell you to sell that open cow. But at this point, you've got to sit down and look, can you replace her? Should you replace her? what are the reasons, other than her just being open, should she stay or should she go, based off of what it costs you to run her for the year. So when prices start running like this, like Vince said, everything's relative and you need to sit down and kind of look at it piece by piece, but also the whole picture across the board of why everything kind of looks the way that it does. That being said, for our pregnancy determination clinic, I'm going to echo what Tripp said. I thought it was great. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. George Gamble and Dr. Randy Clemens for coming and helping us teach that every year. We couldn't host this clinic without them, and I'm grateful that they take a couple of days to come and assist us with that. And thank you to everybody, as Tripp said, for traveling up and coming to see us in Homer. I know several of y'all enjoyed staying out on the lake. That's always great to stay on Lake Leybourne when you'll come up here. This week, I'm going to be rolling into the AI school at Dean Lee. So we got that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll be seeing some of y'all on Saturday at the Farm Bureau event there at the EVAC. And trying to think. Then we have a little bit of a break, and then we roll into State Fair. So we've said it's fair season. It's busy. That's where Lee's at today. He's at the Claiborne Parish Fair. And so we'll be seeing y'all off and on. There were several shows over the weekend. I know quite a few people were at. So we'll just keep rolling, but just again, keep your eyes on everything. This is, again, even the cows. Lee was talking about a cow that was down kind of this morning with some pneumonia-like symptoms. So not just your calves, but place eyes on all of your animals every day with all this weather, and watch for that and get ahead of it as you can. Vince said it. We'll say it again. If we can ever help y'all, please reach out to us, and we'll see y'all just in a couple of weeks.